Hello and welcome to the Wow Show, an hour full of stories from and for truck drivers on the road. We're going to have fun saying thank you for who you are and what you do as drivers. And we're going to talk to some people who know their stuff so that we can learn more. My name is David Binyachek. I'm your host. Let's get started. Good morning, truckers. Good morning, drivers. It's David with the Wow Show. I hope the sun is shining on your truck today, in your spirit today, and that the roads and the traffic is light and easy for you. So you're having a good day. Welcome to today's episode of the Wow Show. Excited about it. We're going to talk about making a difference. So let me give you a couple of facts about making a difference. Number one, you don't need a ton of money to make a difference in people's lives. I think of my mother-in-law, Marlene, aka 3492. It's an inside joke. But here's the scoop. She and her husband, who's passed away, Al, were cattle ranchers in central Alberta. And if you're a cattle farmer, much like being a trucker, the way to make $1 million is actually to start with $5 million. And then after 40 years of hard work, you might be left with $1 million of that to enjoy retirement with. But while they're not multimillionaires, the truth about their farm is that when you visit it, I remember one time I was speaking up in Edmonton with another lady who had come up from the States, and then we were doing another workshop in Calgary. And so on the way back down, we drove through on Highway 2 and popped in at my mother-in-law's farm. And we had dinner there, and just spending 1.5 hours, 2 hours in that atmosphere. And with her, she's got a wicked sense of humor, but there's a lot of peace on that farm. As we started to drive away, she just looked at me, and it was kind of like one of those moments in Field of Dreams. Is like, is this heaven? She said, what was that? I need more of that. You don't need a ton of money to make a difference in this world, and you certainly don't need a lot of fame. I think of a greeter at the exit of the Costco in Calgary, who for many years just kind of through his jokes and through his warmth and through his going above and beyond, made a difference in the people who shopped at that particular location. Costco was big box. This gentleman was personal. And the truth was, later in his life, he struggled with cancer. He passed away. At his funeral, there were hundreds and hundreds of people who came to pay respect. You don't need to be famous to make a difference. Truth is, as truckers, as drivers, professional drivers, you make a difference. This is a shout out and a thank you to the Knights on the Road. You make a difference by helping people on the side of the road. You make a difference by making our economy run through sleet and snow and rain and conditions that others wouldn't necessarily always drive through. You just make a difference. And so here's the scoop about making a difference, because we're going to have 4 different segments today about 4 different people and or corporations that make a difference in people's lives related to trucking. Making a difference simply is a choice. And you do it from where you're at with what you have. And it's fun, it's rewarding, and it'll make a difference in your life. It's absolutely true that as we spend our time making a difference in the lives of others, it's cool that you can make a difference in your own life, because when you focus on others and their issues, they tend to make our own seem a lot smaller. So today's show, we've got 4 different segments on people that make a difference. We're starting with Mike Murchison. Mike is an owner-operator, professional driver for a few decades on the road out of Coaldale, Alberta, who also happens to have a very cool voice. And aside from the driving that he does, and actually inspired by the driving that he does, Mike produces music and sings his music. And recently, actually, through a manager in the Okanagan Valley, they've released a single called It Ain't About Me. You're going to hear it in one of the breaks on this particular show. We're going to let you know where you can support Mike and pick it up. But you're going to hear a story and the story behind the music. Music makes a difference in all of our lives, and Mike, through his music, is making that difference. And so we just applaud him. And that's how we're going to start the show. The second segment is actually segment number 2 of Shop Talk. And while, mechanics isn't necessarily as motivational always as music can be, this is just practical advice that'll make a difference in your business. And I love Dave James Hart at Bar J Heavy Mechanical in Balzac, Alberta. They've come on to support the show, but I love his heart just to be out on this show and create segments that help people. When I said you make a difference from where you're at with what you have, Dave's just going to, over the, life of this show, share tips and tricks that can help save you money, help prevent grief on the road. And today we're continuing the pre-trip inspection of your truck with a look at belts and fluids. And so Dave's going to follow up. I got many positive comments on his first segment. People found it helpful, and I know you're going to find this segment helpful as well. And then we move on to being a kid in a candy store and a person in a company that truly do make a difference. And you know what, as some companies have come on to support what we do and celebrating you and empowering you and telling your story. I love it when I get to do good things with good people. Lesco Distributors is the trucker's candy store. That is their line. And so their segments are going to be called A Kid in the Candy Store. And today you're going to meet one of their employees who is kind of legendary, AKA, well, her name is Tina Clark, AKA, Jan Arden, AKA Melissa McCarthy, AKA Tina's personality is larger than life. And sometimes you could just, wonder where what she just said came from, but it usually makes you laugh. And this lady has a heart of gold, and she's going to walk us through how Lesco has built a successful business just by simply having a heart for the community and ways that they're making a difference with the people around them in the lives of people mostly in the Edmonton, Leduc area, but that influence extends far past that. And so in the opening segment of Kid in the Candy Store with Lesco Distributors, and in this case, Tina Clark, we're going to look at some of the things that they're involved in and how you can get involved in making a difference through the things that are easy to do and that are going to be powerful in the lives of other people. And we're going to end off with a way that you can make a difference. You see, as truckers, I just get this image of, millions of lights. You are the eyes and ears of North America. As a group, you see things that most people don't see because your loads take you into every nook and cranny of this continent. And you know what? Here's the scoop. One of the biggest issues that's coming up in North America, especially with recent greater openings of the border on the south, child trafficking is actually now apparently a bigger business for the cartel in Mexico than drug trafficking is. And we're going to be speaking with Derek Thompson, who is with TFC Global and their Gateway to Freedom Foundation. And I just want to empower you because I know in hearing your stories and talking with you, I want to empower you with information on when potentially your travels take you into a situation where you spot and you don't feel good about what you're seeing, what you can do to potentially make a difference in the life of a kid that's being trapped into a life of prostitution, into a life of slavery, into a life of, just being held captive. Something that no kid should ever have to experience. And Derek has a wealth of knowledge. We share some stories, but most of all, my heart in making a difference with that segment is to let you know what you can do in those situations to not only make a difference in that child's life, but also to stay safe in your own, because they are not without risk. And so I think you're going to find that segment interesting and very informing. So today on the WOW Show, it is about making a difference where you're at with what you have and just making life all that much better because that's what you get to do. So let's get started. Hey, Canada, welcome to the WOW Show. We are in for a treat today. As most of you know, you've probably got your favorite tunes that you drive to on the road, and music and life on the road, whether you're a truck driver or you're driving your car, they just go together. And I am really honored to have Mike Murchison, who is not only a singer-songwriter, but for the majority of his life has been a professional truck driver, owner-operator on the road. And Mike's going to be, we're going to find out more about Mike's story. He's going to be singing a song for us, and we're going to be talking about some cool releases that are coming up on Monday, March the 1st, and on subsequent dates. Mike, welcome to the show.
David, pleasure to be here. Congratulations on your WOW Trucks page.
It is, I love it. I'm a kid in a candy shop because now I get to, with a voice, do what I love to do, which is celebrate people. And you sent me, I've heard you sing in the past. You sent me a song earlier today. And congratulations, man. As I told you, my wife, she said Charlie Pride. And we had a funny moment earlier today because he thought I said Charlie Brown. And we've all been called Charlie Brown in our life. But you've got a really good voice. Tell me about, like, obviously music and trucking go together, but they really have for you. So how have those two stories intertwined in your life?
Well, I'm blessed that both of them were my passions since I was a kid. I used to live in Toronto, and I used to watch the big trucks going by on the 401,
Yeah.
years ago, back in the 70s. And I started learning guitar, and I always played, and I always wanted the truck. And I'll tell you an interesting little story. I couldn't get my license to drive my class one until I was about 25 because I suffered from seizures from the time I was 7 years old up to the time I was about 24. And then by the grace of God, I was seizure free for a year, and then I was able to go get my license. So I went in and got my class 5 driver's license, car driver's license, one day.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, I went in and got my class 1. And then I was out looking for a job driving trucks. So that dream came true. But all the way through all that, I've had one of these. And I've always been writing. I've always been singing.
Yeah.
And I was never, I think, in addition to accomplish something, you've got to have people who believe in you.
Yes.
You can't do it by yourself.
Oh.
Right. And if you have people who believe in you and what you do, whether it's trying to start your own business trucking, whether it's trying to get somewhere with music, or in your case, you've got a fantastic eye with the photograph. Just some of the photographs you create are incredible. And you need people supporting you and believing in you. And it took a while to get the right people to support this. So, I mean, now I've had I've had 30 years driving a truck, which I'm probably still going to be doing, but now I'm this is happening with the music, and I'm so grateful for it. And
can I
the
make?
two have always been there hand in hand.
I love it. And I just want to make this one point to our listeners because it's some words of wisdom from Mike here. Many of you have a talent that you harbor and you're passionate about, aside from the trucking that you do. And Mike's let those two come side by side, and some great things are happening. But here's the truth in my life. Just because there's silence and no one is visibly supporting you or giving you the feedback that you're looking for doesn't mean that they don't value what you do. That's a lie that we normally tell ourselves. It's probably they've been too busy to see it or hear it or pay attention to it. That is most often the truth. And once people know what you're passionate about and you rally that right community around you, then your true gift can start to rise up. And so if you're down that what you're excited about, aside from the trucking that you do, isn't being recognized, don't give up. It isn't over. It's not that you're not good. You probably just haven't been heard, and you need to keep on trucking in that aspect of your life as well. Mike, you got a bunch of guitars behind you, and they obviously on the radio show, they're not seeing this. They'll be able to check it out on the WOW Trucks channel when we post the video. You were saying every guitar has a story. What was your first guitar?
Um, First guitar was one that my mother bought me when I was about 13 years old. It was one of them cheap guitars that you buy at Sears.
Yes.
And I didn't like it very much, but it collected dust for most time, and I started playing it about the time I was 17 because there was a rumor going around that chicks like guitar players, right?
And the long
So,
hair that you have.
yeah, yeah. I just got it cut. It was a lot longer, but um, I didn't like learning to play on that guitar. So, David, this is the God's honest truth. This guitar,
Yep.
this Fender FJ70 guitar, I
Yep.
bought this on Queen Street in Toronto in 1978, and I still have this guitar.
That's cool.
And I also have I got a 12 string there. I've got a Martin there. I've got a Godin Classical. I got a Fender Dobro, and I've got a small recording studio here. So when I write a song, I'm also working on the arrangements for it to put in there, and
Yep.
so that's how I create. And this last year has been a very creative year for me. You know.
I'm excited for you, Mike. We're going to take a little bit of a break right now, let you listen to some music. When we come back, we're going to hear more from Mike Murchison, including a performance from Mike of one of his songs. So you get a taste for his voice and just the exceptional talent that he is. Enjoy the break. We'll see you right after.
Yeah. So am
So,
I.
in terms of creating songs, where does your material normally come from?
You got a lot of time on the white line to think.
Yes.
A lot of time, and it'll come anywhere. Sometimes I'll have a song just drop into my head. Sometimes I will hear a line somewhere. A line will come into my head, and then I just take that and I build with it from there. I play with it from there, and lo and behold, next thing you know, you got a song. It may take a couple of rewrites, but then you've got a song, and that's the way it's always been. Most of my songs, and I've written a lot uh, over the years, they come from the inspiration of the white line and what's going on and the time to think and create, right? I don't
Yes.
know if you call that distracted driving or not.
You know what? It's not something that's visible, but we're probably all guilty of it because I'm thinking when I'm driving as well about, things that I'm going to create and things that I'm going to do and things that are ahead in the day. And so I'm always in my head. And I've realized that sometimes I do need to snap out of that and be more focused on the road. They're not going to see me holding a phone because I don't do that. They're not going to see me fidgeting with my controls, but my brain can be going twice as fast as my car. and
I would think somebody such as yourself, who's a photographer, would have a different outlook and
yeah,
perspective on something that you're looking at out the windshield, or something
yeah,
like that. So your brain's probably going too, doing
it
that.
is. I look for texture, and
There you
uh,
go.
and so it can be the ugliest thing to most people, but I will look at it and say, "Man, I want to photograph somebody or a truck or something there," and then I write down the spot and keep this list of places to go back to, simply because of the texture that they represent. And in music, I guess that translates into your message. It
Yeah.
translates into a vibe. It translates into a number of things.
Photographs, music, uh, guys who even deck their trucks out, spec their trucks out, and design their trucks. Texture's a big thing. It's all about lines. It's all about verticals and horizons and how they match and complement each other, right? And so everything is sort of done layered. It's the same with putting stainless steel or chicken lights on a truck here and there, and how low it rides to the ground, or uh, something that you see in the shutter, and how you work with that. And the same with the song. Everything needs texture, it needs layers and so on. But sometimes too much is too much, and
Yes,
sometimes, you know, uh, but we
simplicity
all have our
is
things, we all
best.
have our, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're speaking my language, my friend. So exciting stuff coming up. You've got a release coming out on Monday, March the 1st, 2021. And it's a new year and a new season for you. Tell us about it.
Yeah, a new season. Yeah, I like that word because that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's a new season. Been running down the road for 30 years now. And so my producer, Mike Shell, who's with LMS Entertainment out of Kelowna, I just sent him a song a couple weeks ago. And he
Yeah.
liked it, and he sent me a message back, said we should do something. So we did. Went out to Kelowna, went out to Pure Sound Recording Studios in Kelowna, and we did 3 songs. We did Ain't About Me, Scars, and One More Chance. Ain't About Me is coming out March the 1st. I think it's on Monday. I think
Yeah.
that's March the 1st. And it's available on 37 different download platforms, including iTunes, TuneCore, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Napster, and a whole bunch more. So it's getting released worldwide. How the response will be of it, I don't know, but there's a lot of people have confidence in it. So it's a matter of just getting the word out there is what it boils down to. So by the time this airs, it may already have been released, on those
Yes.
platforms. Yeah.
Now it's gonna go to our Facebook site on Monday. So as you're listening to this, It Ain't About Me is the title.
And what the song is about,
Yeah.
it's been an incredible year and a half for so many people, not just in our community or country, but around the world. This thing with this virus, people have lost businesses, people have lost loved ones. Some people think it's a conspiracy, some people think it's don't. And I'm not going there whether it is or not, but
Yeah.
the whole song and the whole context behind it ain't about me. It's about sometimes we have to take our eyes off ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and put them on others.
Yes.
Put the focus off us and on others, because basically in this world these days, it ain't always about me.
Yeah.
And that's where the song came from.
And great things happen when it's not about ourselves.
Yeah, isn't that true?
I
Isn't that
I
true?
I so dig that. I mean, when I'm feeling down on myself, the best thing I can do is help someone else because it usually makes my troubles look small.
Yeah.
And we magnify in life what we focus on. And so if we're just focused on our troubles and on our life, it's amazing how that's a downward spiral. And when we focus on others, as to the title of your song and the message behind your song, that's powerful. I mean, if our listeners get nothing else except for that message out of today, it's going to change your life because it has changed mine. Just that one attitude. And so, I can't wait to hear it. Now you're going to sing for us. Now they have to wait till Monday, March 1st and go search out It Ain't About Me on those platforms to listen to it. But you've gracefully accepted to sing and give them a taste of your voice and some Mike Murchison music. What are you going to be singing for us, Mike?
I'm going to sing this one that I wrote a few days ago. I sent it to you earlier today.
Yeah, I love it.
It's called She's Gone.
Yes.
You were asking me who it's about.
Yeah, who is she?
Not about anybody particular. Like I was telling you earlier, sometimes I'll get this thought in my head and the thought will stick there, and then eventually it makes its way out to a song. So the thought was in my head the last few days about the moon and the stars and what those things represent to a lot of people. Some people wish on the stars, some people see the moon as a magical thing for lovers. And being a truck driver, I figured, well, I need to put the white line in this song somewhere. So this song is called She's Gone. Okay?
Go for it.
I gazed at the stars, oh so high above. I said if I made a wish, would they bring me back my love? But they were granting wishes way out in the Milky Way. You see, I just closed my eyes, and somehow she slipped away. I talked to the moon as I rolled on down the road. I asked him where she was. He said he didn't know. The farther I went, the smaller yesterdays became. Yeah, I just closed my eyes, and somehow she slipped away. I guess she's gone. No wishing on a star would bring her near. She's gone. And me and that old moon cried a million tears like the tide that rolls on in, like the tide that rolls away. Oh, nothing held her back, no reason to stay. I guess she's gone. It don't really matter what lies around the bend. I've been there before, I'll be there again. That old moon and stars, they keep shining down below. And every time I close my eyes, she's a little farther down the road. I guess she's gone. No wishing on a star could bring her near. She's gone. Me and that old moon cried a million tears, like the tide that rolls on in and the tide that rolls away. Ooh, nothing held her back, no reason to stay. Now she's gone. Yeah, like the tide that rolls on in, like the tide that rolls away. Nothing held her back, there was nothing left to say, and now she's gone.
Awesome, my friend. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
letting me play it.
Thank you for sharing your heart
Mhm.
and an amazing voice. That's incredible. Looking forward to your new release. We'll share some of the links with the people in the community. But go back, seizures have been gone since you were young, like you talked about. The grace of God, your seizures were gone.
I split my head open when I was 7 years old running to school. I slammed into a concrete wall,
Yeah,
and the seizures started after that. They started as if anybody who has knows about epilepsy, they started as petite mal seizures, and then
yeah,
when I got into my teen years, they turned into grand mal seizures, and then a combination of both. And then I mean, I guess through medication and time, the body healing itself in a sense, I
yeah.
was able to get to a point where I wasn't having any seizures anymore, which allowed me to get my license, which opened the floodgates to the big trucks and the white line, and bam, away I went.
That's amazing. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
You are not.
So
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, we all have pity parties. I'm
Hmm.
guilty of having some myself, right?
Yep.
Um, People are really inconvenienced right now with all that's going on in the world. Um, Sometimes we hit ruts down the road we can't get out of. We don't know what's going on, but somewhere in there, no matter who we are, we've got a talent, we've got a voice, we've got something that's going to come out, and the time will come. There's a season for everything. And I wanted to encourage anybody who watches this show or listen is to not give up on what they have, their strengths, their beauty, their character, who they are, because it comes out one day. Proof of that is I started playing this and writing songs when I was 17. I'm
Yeah.
59 now,
Yeah.
David. Okay. I couldn't get my license when I wanted to, but I got it just at the right time.
Yes.
So I hope people take that to heart and realize that, everybody's good, everybody's got a talent, and the time will come for it.
I love that message. Mike, you're not only an exceptional musician, but the gift of your voice is both in song and in the words that you speak. So keep doing what you're doing, my friend. I'm praying and wishing for every success in your launch on Monday. And I know that your fans will find it and support you with it. And so keep on doing what you're doing, Mike.
That's a hard thing to adjust to, fans. I'm not used to it. Let me tell you something, David. When I do my Facebook post over the last 2 years, I would go on Facebook. I'd give road reports and little hellos from the road, or I'd do a tune when I was home here. And do you mind if I sign off the way I usually sign off?
Please do.
Okay. You hug your children, love your family, be the pro we know that you can be. Take the high road. It's a longer journey, but you will walk taller for it. Say a kind word to a stranger because you can change the course of their life and yours. Faith, hope, and love are the three ingredients of success. Try them, use them, pass them on. They're sugar-free, low in calorie, and results are guaranteed.
And that's Mike Murchison.
Thank you, David.
I want to thank Mike Murchison for sharing his heart, sharing his talent and his music during that interview. Really a cool guy. And his sign off is a great poetic way and an example of making a difference in people's lives. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be simple as a hug going out the door. And so thank you, Mike. As I mentioned in the intro, he released his single, It Ain't About Me, recently, and it's going to be heard as we go to the break and take a break. You're going to hear his newest single. I'd encourage you to support this cool Canadian driver. Go to Amazon, just type in It Ain't About Me and look for Mike Murchison. The link will also be on the wowtrucks.com website under the replay of this particular show. And as he supports us with his heart and his voice, I'd encourage you to support him. So enjoy It Ain't About Me, enjoy the break. And when we come back, we're going to make a difference with Dave James and episode number 2 of Bar J Shop Talk, focusing on belts and fluids. See you after the break.
Well, it ain't about me, not like it was before. Yeah, there's a whole lot going on outside my door, and the world as I know it, it ain't like it was before. I've got a feeling it ain't about me anymore. I don't like the wind, I don't like the rain. Yeah, but there's a big storm blowing and it's standing in my way. I can't do the things that I used to do. It ain't about me anymore, it's about me and you. So I'll pour the coffee if you take the time, and you can tell me just what's on your mind. We're a little bit different, I guess that's true. It ain't about me anymore, it's about me and you. Tell me just what's on your mind. We're a little bit different, I guess that's true. It ain't about me anymore, it's about me and you. Oh, it ain't about me like it was before. There's a whole lot going on outside my door, and the world as we know it, it ain't like it was before. I've got a feeling it ain't about me anymore. I've got a feeling it ain't about me anymore. I've got a feeling it ain't about me anymore.
Welcome back and welcome to the Wow Show. David Benyachek here, your host. We started off today's show listening to Mike Murchison, his story. And just before the break, he played one of his songs, and you've heard It Ain't About Me during the break. I think you can agree with me on this. The guy's got talent, he's got a great voice. I don't know about you, but many times there have been artists that I've loved when I've heard them on a CD, but when you kind of meet them, like you go to one of their concerts and you see their body language and their tone, you don't like him as much. But in the case of Mike, when you meet the man and you heard the music, it just makes you like it more. An incredible guy, truck driver out of Coaldale, Alberta, doing great things with his voice, making a difference in people's lives through his music. And so I hope during the break you downloaded the song and added it to your repertoire. Again, the links will be on wildtrucks.com. So now we're going to move on to the second portion of making a difference. And it comes in a very practical way. Mr. David and Michelle James, they run family-owned heavy duty mechanical repair shop for truck and trailer in Balzac, Alberta, called Bar J Heavy Duty Mechanical. And his heart is to share with you tips and tricks around preventative maintenance to help save you money, keep your truck on the road, minimize downtime, minimize visits with DOT, unless you happen to know them personally and you're meeting aside from being on the side of the road at a coffee shop or over dinner, whatever that is, and not having them pull you over. There's a lot of practical ways that preventative maintenance makes a difference, both in the success of your business as an owner operator, and in the stress and happiness of your life, or the reduction of stress when you do it. First episode focused on the exterior of the truck, and this next episode, episode number 2 of Bar J Shop Talk, Dave walks us through belts and fluids. So here it is, Bar J Shop Talk. Welcome, David James.
Hey, it's Dave James here with Bar J Heavy Mechanical with another segment of Shop Talk. Today we're going to look under the hood and do a quick pre-trip inspection of our fluids, belts, electrical, and that kind of thing, hose clamps. Make sure you're up and ready to go and you can get to your destination on time. So for starters, we're going to start with the easy stuff. Wash your fluid is very important. You got to keep your windshield clean. You got to be able to see. You got to keep the sun out of your eyes and the streaks and that really bother you guys when you're on the road. So wash your fluids cheap. Keep it topped up all the time if you can. While we're on this side, we're just going to take a quick look at the steering shaft, steering components, make sure everything's tight and secure. Looking for electrical, you can see something's hanging off here on this truck. That should be addressed. I mean, this guy didn't say there's an engine light on or anything yet, but this is just something easy you can take back, maybe throw a zip tie on it so the steering shaft doesn't rip it off. Then it costs you a $100 connector down the road. So anyway, moving on. You want to look at the hose clamps. You want to look at the fan and the belt. Make sure the belt's nice and secure. Look for cracks in the ribbing, that kind of thing. Dents, holes, rocks get up in there. They can put dents and can prematurely wreck your belt. You can see you got a little bit of a leak going on right here. It's like it's power steering hoses and that kind of thing. Doesn't look detrimental to you, but down the road it could be. It's going to cause issues. Take it into a shop like ours and we'll get that fixed up. Pretty simple. Brackets like this, like I said, hoses, rad securement, hood securement, electrical. Just a nice visual of what's going on up here, just to make sure everything's safe and sound. Rad hoses up here. We'll step around to the other side. Here you can have a better look at your belt. Most trucks have 2 belts. This is your main fan belt and this is your auxiliary belt up here, running your AC and that kind of stuff. Have a good look for cracks, splits, dents in the belt, as if rocks hit it and that kind of thing. Make sure the fan is nice and secure. Again, the pipes on this side. Make sure there's no leaks or nothing that's going to have a major leak on your trip. If there is something as simple as a little drip here and there, it doesn't hurt to take a flat blade screwdriver and tighten up some hose clamps on hoses like this. Just to keep it nice and simple. Electrical here on your alternator. Make sure it's not corroded or anything like that, or you can take a wire brush and corrode it or remove the corrosion. If you do take a wire brush into this, try and take this post off. This is your battery positive post. Take it off, brush it off to the side, because if you're brushing this while it's on the metal alternator, it's going to short to ground and cause a bunch of sparks, and you don't want that to ever happen. Coolant up here, make sure your coolant level's proper. You can see on this side here, there's a minimum level. Want to make sure you're at that level or above. And then, yeah, just another quick peek at your pipes. Like I say, put your hands on stuff, push it, feel around, have a look for exhaust leaks over here on this side. Have a look at your filters. A quick peek underneath the engine for drips and drops and puddles anywhere, and try and address that before you get out on the road. That should get you to where you need to be. Hope that helps.
Our thanks to David James, another great segment of Barjay Shop Talk with great information. Making a difference. I don't know about you, but I love to support companies that support the community. I think a lot of people do. And when you think of that in Edmonton, and as it relates to trucking and the transport industry, Lesco Distributors is one of those companies. They are called the Trucker's Candy Store because Lesco's focus is chromes and lights. But that's not all they do. They care about their community. In this first issue of being a kid in a candy store, you're going to meet Tina Clark. And Tina is an awesome individual, a foundation at Lesco that so many people know, so many people love, and is never, ever, ever going to give you anything that's boring. Tina is full of life. In this first segment, we caught up with the people at Lesco, and Tina talks about their heart for the community, the charities they support, and you start to get a flavor for this lady that has a real impact on the people around her. All right, Tina, Melissa McCarthy, Oprah, Jen Arden. On behind that tough exterior, as I know you, you've got a huge heart.
Yeah, we have, it's not just me. I mean, I'd love to take all the accolades and pretend like it's all me, but you know what, the reality
Just go ahead, do it.
No, I just can't, because you know what, it started out, okay, so it started with the truck show. Every year we look for an organization that we can help. We've gone to the bigger organization. That was not our finest hour. They don't have time for us. They're looking for $100,000 donations, not $5,000 donations. So that just, that fizzled really quickly. Moving forward over the years, we've gone to smaller organizations like Basically Babies. It's a local organization that helps children in need. Newborn mothers or mothers with newborn children with nothing. So this organization became very near and dear to us because they're just around the corner, and it's an amazing charitable organization. Then rolling forward from that, we went with Youth Employment Services, again, a really stand-up charity here locally in the city. Then when everything went sideways with our previous venue that we were using for the truck show, in between that, let me go back a step, we were approached by this Leduc West Antique Society to come out and check out their venue, and we never went with it. And then finally, when everything fizzled on us, we decided we'd reach out to them. And the Leduc West Antique Society is now something that's very near and dear to me and to everybody in this organization, and anybody that was at last year's truck show that was there to experience it. It is amazing. It is everything about the history of trucking over the last 50 years, front and center in your face. The drivers that run it, Jim McConnell, Clint Coyne, they were They were very open with us. They shared everything with us, their antique trucks, the trucks that they've rebuilt, the history of their business. Jim McConnell used to move houses. It is truly an amazing organization. The problem is, the fact is that these drivers are now getting old. They're all in their late 60s, mid 70s, early 80s, and there's a circle of life that goes with that, and unfortunately, all their wares are at this location, and they need donations. They need charitable donations to keep that up and operating for everybody to enjoy. So going forward, we're taking our truck show to Leduc West Antique Society, and I really can't promote the location, the venue enough. They do the Christmas tree lights, which we do our truck show there, they do antique tractor pulls there. They've opened up all the buildings to us. They allow us to use all the museums for our truck show. It's 80 acres of beautiful treed green space. It's amazing. And all that, while we were at the truck show last year, there was an 80 plus year old man riding on a tractor mower, going around mowing, stop, kick out stones, pick up these big stones and put them on his little mower and carry on. That's what they do. Their days of driving are behind them. They're tired of it. So now they just offer all their experience, all their equipment, and all their green space and their collectible space to you. So I think it's really important, even if you don't come to the truck show, if you don't come to Leduc West Antique Society lights, the Kinsman lights at Christmas time, which is amazing in itself, just come out. It's going to cost you $3-4 for the day. They have museums out there. Like I said, they have antique tractor pulls. Why not just go out and see if you can help them mow the grass? Bring your RV out there for a weekend and help them clean up the properties. Those guys are old and they just cannot do it all by themselves anymore. So I know some of the folks that were at the truck show this year, they have full intentions of coming in a week before the show. They're going to set up their motorhomes and they're going to help them groom the land. But there's more than just a truck show going on there. And anytime you can give them any help, donations or otherwise, I really encourage it. I don't know if you, I hope you don't mind, but going forward, they have trees. They have these amazing trees. And they have one tree that has wings that look like this, literally like angel's wings. So I was looking at it, and at the truck show I kept wandering around looking at these wings, and we figured it out. What I want to do is I want to sell a tree. They're memorial trees. The trees will cost you $125. Out of that $125, $100 goes to Leduc West Antique Society. The $25 is what we've spent on the lights. They're solar powered lights. So we're going out in the spring for all the trees that I sell. We're going out in the spring. We're going to wrap the lights into it. And then we're going to make a wooden medallion in memory of whomever you want the tree in memory of. They're going to be sprinkled all around the truck show grounds, the tractor grounds, the campgrounds. So everywhere there'll be a medallion hanging off a tree that says in memory of. It can be a driver, a family member. We're buying the one tree with the double wings, and it's going to be in memory of all the drivers that have passed. Recently, we lost a driver, Daryl Shaw, and some know him as Casper Hauling. Yep. And it's really heartbreaking because these people are who made the industry what it is today. And stories from people like Daryl Shaw were entertaining. Like he's done everything. He's pulled around famous artists and famous bands, and he's trucked up and down the highway, and he picked out every old piece of crap with Steve Weinrich, and they've turned them into these amazing pieces of iron. So that's another soul lost. So in memory of those people, we're going to do a tree, and it's going to be done in the Lesco colors, the white and the turquoise, the teal. And then I encourage everybody to come in, purchase a tree in memory of, and we're going to do up a wood medallion biscuit about so big, and then we'll have their name on it, and it'll hang from the tree. And it'll be solar powered, so every night after the sun goes down, the lights will come on.
That is amazing. I can't think of a better way to make a difference.
And you know what? It's going to make a difference on site too, because where the trucks were parked, there'd be like a tree. And it's not that it was terrible. It just wasn't lit up. And like we can't light it all up like a Christmas tree, but The idea is to take a few branches and then bring it down to center stump and light it up. So all the pathways in between the trucks will be all lit up. And during the Christmas lights next year, all these will come on naturally. They'll just come on their own because of the light. So their memory will be there forever. And if the tree needs to be removed, we'll replace the lights. It's not a big deal.
That's awesome. Having been there last year, I can attest to the fact. And if you're going to be doing more with this program, it's going to take it from amazing to whatever super amazing is.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Like Leduc has really become a large part of Lesco. I'd like to say that we're going to eventually open up there, but that'd be a pipe dream. This is tough enough for 5 of us to maintain as it is in keeping up on the stock. I couldn't imagine having a second location to do that to. And truly, we've been so tight for so long, I don't know that we'd trust anybody else to do what we do. We could screw it up on our own. We certainly don't need outside influences, right? I mean, it's tough. It's a tough market, and it's even tougher now when we call our vendors and they're telling us that there's 200 ships at the San Diego ports that have their containers on it, and they're going to be months out before they get the product cleared. That means we're going to be months out of having product here. When you look around and you see t-shirts hanging around, like up here, those are spots that we're waiting for product that we just can't get right now.
Yeah.
And so rather than have all these blank spots looking like we're going out of business, I opted to fill them in with truck show pictures and pictures of truck shirts from different suppliers. It's all we can do for right now, and just hope we can get through it. We've turned our business. We're trying to buy a little more local. We're trying to build in-house now. It's a tough role though, because I mean, we deal with companies like Shift. Shift, of course, is a Manitoba company. We buy their mats. We buy some of their stuff from them. We buy from Distributors Manufacturing, who is an OEM supplier and builder. However, they are actually from Guelph, Ontario. Rochling Engineered Plastics. We buy all their mud flaps. They're out of Orangeville. We don't ever, and I mean, people need to understand this, we don't ever take freight by rail or by plane. That's not how we roll. We support the industry, and the industry is trucking. So although sometimes the timelines are unrealistic, I mean, you and I both know it's 40 hours to Toronto if you're a team driver. Yeah. So why on earth it takes 7 days is beyond me, but that's the logistics that go with it, unfortunately.
Yes.
We also have private manufacturers. Bertel from LF Collision, we do business with Bertel. There's new upstarts coming into the market. There's a fella out of Lloydminster setting up. I'm going to give him a plug. His name is Layhan. His business is Hollywood Customs. They're going to be doing work for us as well. He's got a mechanic shop. Deep Pockets out of Saskatoon. Jeff is a whiz at Western Stars. Like, I mean, he can do amazing builds on Western Stars, and he's very creative in himself. So we use him as well. And we all work together. We all work together, and we all work together really well. So it's not that we're trying to corner the industry or put anybody out of business, or we don't see ourselves as competition. We don't see anybody as competition. I would like to think that we're all working together. And if you feel so strongly that you want to be competitive, well, good luck, because you don't have us. So you are a chrome business, and good on you, but you're not competition to us. We are your friends, and we will work together with you. All I ask is the same respect that we give you. That's the plug. You want to work with us, you want to put your product out there, you want people to buy your product, we'll respect us and we'll respect you back. It's that simple. That's just how it rolls. We may be old school and some people might be rolling their eyes, and to you I say, whatever. It is how we are. It's how we've always been, and that's what we built this business on. It's the integrity and the loyalty that we give to our customers, and the loyalty and the integrity that we give to our vendors. As much as we would love to cancel U.S. suppliers in some cases, we can't. We know that. There's been businesses over the years that have gone away on us. Big Al from Top Line Supplies, rest his soul. He's another driver that we lost, who was one of our biggest sales reps. When he left, we didn't have a choice but to go after United Pacific, because their product is a great product and we wanted it. So, I mean, it complemented our Grand General. They're brothers in war back in the States, and there are two of our biggest branded suppliers from the US that we get, aside from Roadwork. So, I mean, there's not too much that we can't get our hands on, and we keep reaching out to the private builders as well, because there's some really good private builders out in the States. Some of them like to poo-poo on us because we're Canadian and we don't have the demographics that they want. You know, we don't have 4 million people crammed into one town, so they can't get the sales that they're looking for. But then there's some like Roadskin Steve that is more than happy to work with us. And he does what he can to provide us with what we want. And his buddy eBay does a lot of work for us. So it's just a really great business, and we're forever reaching out, and we're always trying different things.
You are a community builder.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hey, you had another moment there. So let me add on to Oprah and Jan Arden and all of those others. You had a Sandra Bullock moment from Miss Congeniality. where she was doing her final speech, the talk, and she nailed it from the politeness point of view, and then all of a sudden she just broke out and said, "And if you touch her, I will take your neck."
I will mess you up. You know what though? It's true. Like, I can't imagine my life any other way. I've been doing this for so long. And it keeps building, you know, like Leslie and Daryl, the bosses, my bosses, are also my friends.
Mm-hmm.
We became friends through my employment here. They've allowed me to do things that most employers wouldn't consider allowing. They take all my moments, my late moments, which are out of a 5-day week or 5 days a week. Sometimes we can get to 4. Just after Christmas, I was rocking it. I had 5 days on time, but nobody was here to see it. They were in quarantine. But then that all fell to hell because I have 3 lives going on, is the fact of the matter. I work here full time. I take care of my mom full time, and I work part time at West Edmonton Truckland in their lounge.
Are you a lounge singer?
A lounge singer? No, I'm a bar dancer. I'm a bartender. We get the jukebox rocking, and of course, you know, there's AC/DC, and then there's Tina.
Yeah.
So yeah, the headbanger, right? Yeah, you know what? Look, I've been in the industry now for so long. I don't know any other life. If you were to put me into a corporate world, I would die horribly.
And so would others.
Apparently, in a corporate world, I can't tell sales reps to bend over and touch their toes for me. And in a corporate world, I'm not allowed to ask somebody to reach to the top shelf because I can't do it. And, you know, I can't get them to do one of these to stretch for me. So, yeah, so I have to stay where I'm at.
You're
That's
amazing.
what I do.
You're amazing. It was just a great time with Tina at Lesco. And she's a great lady, a very unique lady. But you know what? I think you make the biggest difference in people's lives and in your own life when you just dare be who you are. All of us are created with certain strengths and weaknesses. Each one of us is unique. And if we try to give out of being someone else, it's not going to be as powerful as giving out of who you are. And the cool thing about Tina, and she almost said in the interview, it's like, I just cannot not be who I am. And she wears her heart on her sleeve in very unique ways, and has developed a ton of fans because of that. If you want service that is boring and kind of like the drive-through at a fast food restaurant where they say, "Hello, how can I help you? Do you want fries with that? What do you want to drink? Do you want to supersize that? Go to till number 1." It's not the type of service I like to receive. Appreciate Tina for who she is and what she does. And it's cool because we all do what we do, but our legacy comes out of what we do. And so no matter how glamorous or mundane what we do is, our legacy comes out of what we do. And, you know, the fact is that they sell some cool products at the end of the day, but you know, the people at Lesco won't be remembered necessarily for the chrome and the products that they sold, but for the lives that they affected through some of the things that they do. And that goes for you drivers as well. You do what you do, but because of where your job takes you and the people it introduces it to you, you have an awesome opportunity to leave a tremendous legacy out of the giftings that you've been given to the people around you. When we come back from the break, we're going to take a little bit break for some music at this time. When we come back, we're going to talk about one way that you can make a tremendous impact, because you do drive into and reach into every part of our continent. I'm going to be talking with Derek Thompson from TFC Global and their Gateway to Freedom project. We're going to be talking about things that you can be aware of and things that you can do to help combat the travesty, the growing travesty that is child trafficking. So take a break, listen to some good music, and we'll see you on the other side. Welcome back from the break. As promised, very shortly, I'm going to play you the interview that I had with Derek Thompson at TFC Global and their Gateway to Freedom Foundation on child trafficking. Is really a topic that many people in North America don't really see as being a North American problem. They see it as being everywhere else and not here. But the truth is, North America is one of the hottest and largest spots for trafficking. Every single year across the continent, over 200,000 kids are enslaved into sex trafficking or labor trafficking. The stats show that over 18,000 are brought in from other countries for the same purpose. And when I think of truckers, I just see the map of North America lit by your lights, and there's millions and millions of you, and you travel to every inch of this country. The purpose of my interview with Derek was to not only shed light on the where and what of child trafficking in our cities and in our towns and in our neighborhoods, but to also empower you, because you are everywhere. And it's one of those days we talked about making a difference just in doing what you do. That's where your legacy comes out of it. I think empowerment of knowing what you can do when you're in a situation where you suspect that someone's being trafficked will go a long ways in helping fighting it, reducing it in our continent. Here's my interview with Derek Thompson. Good morning, Canada. Hope you're doing well this morning. Hope the sun is shining and the roads are light and easy for you as you're traveling down the road. I am super excited about one of my guests today, and a guest that's with me on a very special topic. Today I have Derek Thompson. He is the director of Gateway to Freedom. And today's topic is one actually that I know that as truck drivers, you can play a huge role in helping with. And what I've been encouraged in the last little while, it seems to be gaining steam. And that issue is child trafficking and human trafficking. Derek, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here, David. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, happy Monday.
Yes.
So tell everybody where am I talking to you? Where are you at?
So yes, I am in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Sweet.
And I'm so blessed to have recently joined TFC Global and their Gateway to Freedom Foundation initiative.
That is cool. I love your state. I've
Yes.
spoken there a number of times, and I just remember driving, and it's kind of like these rolling green hills, and the only way that you realized that there was a city down below you or an exit coming up was like a steeple or something from a church that would poke out of the forest, and it was just incredibly beautiful. And so you're a lucky man. I like it.
Yes, definitely. Yes, there is a very spiritual kind of feel within the rolling hills and the farmland. So yeah, we love it.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for this. Human trafficking, child trafficking. We chatted a little bit earlier. There's two sides to it, and we're going to tackle one side. It's a supply and demand issue.
Mhm.
And so, today we're going to talk about the supply, and we're going to, give truckers empower them with what are the signs that you can look for to potentially make a difference in a child's life. And what should you do about that? Because these situations are not without risk. And so just managing that, there's also the demand side. And if like the drug cartels, if we didn't use drugs, if there wasn't a demand for the product,
Right.
it's amazing how we wouldn't even have to worry about the supply
Yep.
side of this whole thing. And so I know that your organization does amazing things, primarily focused on men, but I would imagine, are there women involved there as well, or has it been mixed, or has it been?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we prioritize men just because they have been kind of left out of the conversation for so long, and they're not really getting involved in anti-trafficking work. So we prioritize them, but the ministry is for everybody, men, women. We have a heart for families. Yeah, there's a place and a role for everybody.
Yeah. So here's my heart, and here's why I get excited is that, so often in our society, because we have it good, things that are not seen
Hmm.
don't get attention.
Right.
And I'm really pumped. I mean, there's a lot of like the Women's Trucking Federation, Shelley Juvenal Hesh. I saw her doing some stuff. NEL Insurance is an insurance company. They're doing some stuff around trafficking. The big guys put that on my heart as kind of the social mission for the WOW show and WOW trucks. And so that's kind of cool. And they're bringing it to light. Can you give us an overall scope? Like,
Mhm.
what does this look like? What are the numbers? Where is it coming from? Where do we see it? Where would we be surprised to find it? Like, give us a scope of the reality of this in North America today.
Yeah, well, David, you're absolutely right. We can't solve a problem that we don't see or we don't know about, that we're not aware about. And one of the things about human trafficking, as far as big picture, is that it does such a good job of hiding in plain sight. So it's been around for centuries. It's been
Yeah.
in our midst, happening all the time. But what's happened more recently is because we've started to get the eyesight to see it when it's happening in front of us, now we're able to report it. We're able to arrest bad guys, free victims, all of that stuff. But it really does start by being able to identify human trafficking when we see it. And as far as the scope too, there's been many reports that say that human trafficking is the second largest crime in the world today, just under drug trafficking.
Yeah.
And that sex trafficking has been one of the fastest growing crimes in the world for the past couple decades.
Yeah.
Now, there's a caveat there I can share real quick. It
Sure.
feels like it's the fastest growing crime, but that's again because we've been able to identify it better.
Mm-hmm.
And we're arresting more people. We're seeing it that it feels like it's the fastest growing crime in the world, when really we're just doing a better job of going, oh my gosh, this is happening. Children are being recruited and groomed and all of that. So
It's kind of like COVID. I mean, if your state does no testing, it's amazing how you have 0 cases.
great, a great relevant
Your
example.
governor can run for president the next time.
Yep. If you don't, in fact, it's funny you say that. I don't want to call out the state, but there was a state who just 9 years ago said, we don't have human trafficking here. It's crazy. We don't know what you guys are talking about. And then they started investigating sex trafficking. And I think they're the 12th or 15th highest state for human trafficking. So,
Yeah.
but it started with local people and then law enforcement beginning to investigate and identify. So yeah, there is this myth that it's really not relevant in my backyard kind of thing.
Yep.
And the truth is, human trafficking and sex trafficking is what I call a global and local crime.
Yeah.
Meaning it's happening everywhere overseas, and it's happening in our cities and in our backyard.
Yeah, no, and that's where I want to head to is the where. When I think of this, I can gladly accept that cities like Los Angeles and New York and big metropolitan areas across the country, even cities like larger cities in Pennsylvania like Pittsburgh and Scranton and those places, I can see it there. Rural versus urban, is it
Mhm.
everywhere, or is it primarily focused on the big cities?
Yeah, no, it is everywhere. It really is. It doesn't city, rural. It is happening everywhere. And one of the things that will help us identify that and can be confusing for people who are just getting involved is that we think that sex trafficking looks somehow different than prostitution,
Yeah.
right? Or adult entertainment venues.
Yes.
But really, all sex trafficking looks like one of those two things. It's going to look like prostitution or adult dancing or even pornography.
Yeah.
And so wherever those things are, wherever you know those things are, then sex trafficking is happening within that.
Yeah, and so you're kind of leading into what I was gonna just ask you, like if we have an idea what the split is, because when I think of human trafficking, my first immediate thought, just based on my small knowledge of the topic, is prostitution, and so kids being led to prostitution. I remember being in Miami, and I remember being at a pool with my wife and watching this man bring a 6-year-old boy, or he looked around 6 years old, 7 years old. And immediately my gut just looked at that and went, ugh,
Yeah.
this was not a dad and this was not a son and dad.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a man that was following them
Uh-huh.
and into the washroom area, and immediately notified security. I don't know what was caught, what wasn't caught, if it was a trafficking situation or a prostitution situation, and it just kind of hit me in the gut, and it was like, no, not a 7-year-old boy. And so, but there's also porn, and the thing about porn is, in our society, it's almost celebrated.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Yep.
and so it's part of growing up. It's part of almost like your coming of age, and how you learn, and all of those things that, and we don't see the other side of it. Most of these people are not people that grew up always wanting to do that and aspiring to a career in that industry. They're people that are hooked on drugs, that are desperately chained
Yep.
to the quote unquote entertainment that we're watching.
Yep.
Where's the split there? Or does, when kids are trafficked, is it usually both? So they're both prostituted and involved in porn, or what does that look like?
It's really helpful here, David, and you bringing up really good points. So thank you for that. It's helpful to view sex trafficking with an understanding of the consumer sex industry, right?
It's
And
huge.
yeah, it's huge. The consumer sex industry is huge, and people who want to make money in that industry, all right, their dominant target audience is young, vulnerable children. That is who is being recruited and groomed into consumer sex, which includes prostitution, pornography, and adult entertainment. Now, most pimps and traffickers use emotional manipulation, and there is some strategy. This has been developed over, again, probably hundreds of years of how to groom someone into the consumer sex industry so that you can profit off of that. And one of the ways is you might start off in dance venues,
Yeah.
before you're moving them to prostitution.
Yeah.
And also pimps and traffickers all use pornography, one as a grooming mechanism to victims, but also they will film what's happening and they can sell it online. So once you start thinking about this as an industry and how people make money in this industry, the dots will connect and you go, oh my gosh, yes, I see how all of this works together.
Okay. Now you mentioned the phrase vulnerable kids. And
Yes.
I'm going to draw the parallel to drugs, just in terms of our community of friends. Drugs has no boundaries. There's no boundaries of class, of economic welfare, of all of this stuff, and so we know some families that are beautiful families whose kids have fallen into the trap of being addicted to drugs, and at the age of 15 waking up on a downtown street not knowing where they were or who raped them, and it's just gut wrenching. This child trafficking, I just from a prevention point of view and from a self-interest point of view for North American families, they probably think it couldn't happen to my kid,
Right.
because I'm a middle class,
Mhm.
and we're fairly well off, and they have everything that they need, and they have 3 square meals, and we're not perfect, but they're loved for the most part. Is it like drugs? Does it cascade through every economic, strata in our society?
Yes, definitely. I've been involved in victim services full time for 6 years, and this does impact as far as children being victimized by sex trafficking impacts children no matter what their economic background is or ethnic background. So yes, because the key vulnerability, we talk about vulnerable children, the dominant vulnerability that pimps and traffickers are exploiting is the age of the person.
Okay.
Every young person is vulnerable due to their age
Yeah.
to an adult who might want to create some sort of emotional manipulative relationship and recruit. I think about myself, because you also think, well, boys aren't. I think back, if I was a 13-year-old boy and I had an adult woman who was maybe 21 years old, you know, um, begin a relationship with me saying I'm so handsome and I'm so strong and athletic and just
Yeah.
just puffing my ego up, and then started driving a wedge between me and my family. Your mom, she's kind of, she's real strict, and she doesn't believe in you and that you can do these things, and started doing that. And then said, hey, why don't you come away with me for the weekend? We won't tell your parents. I mean, I would have been hugely vulnerable to that, right? I,
Yes.
I would have gone anywhere uh, with an adult woman that was saying how great I was
Yeah.
and handsome and strong. And so that's really what pimps and traffickers do. And now with social media and being online, the access that potential predators would have to our children is really scary.
Yeah.
And the way that they can then build relationships. We had one quick story. We had an 18-year-old girl that was about to get on a bus. This is back when I was working in Florida. She was about to get on a bus and go visit someone who she thought was a 19-year-old girl, but was actually a 55-year-old man. And
Wow.
she bought her bus ticket and she was headed a couple states away to go meet this person before it was all found out. So no matter the age, um, anybody can be a victim of this.
So here's the dilemma for trucking families. So often, they can be a complete family with a mom and a dad and children, but so often it's a single parent reality because the one is on the road all the time. And so, what do you say to trucking families and to truckers? What are some common sense things that they can do to kind of keep their kids safe and best protect them against someone creeping in so unsuspectedly? That is such a valid point. I think of depression. People don't go from being happy to depressed. It's one little step at a time, and they don't even realize how deep that they're in
Mhm.
before someone needs to do sort of an intervention and call them out for where they're at. It's a similar parallel. What can trucking families do to prevent their own kids from getting trapped?
Yeah, now what's almost become necessary, and I relate this to, there's certain safety things we teach our children when they grow up, like, look both ways when you cross the road, right? That's a safety thing. Don't touch a hot stove.
Yeah.
Um, very basic, fundamental, important safety instructions. Well, now social media has to become one of those. We need some basic online social media talk with our kids that is similar as saying, hey, look both ways before you cross the road. And what that would be is, well, one, depending on the age of the child, not giving immediate access to social media where they could be interacting with, the whole world, anyone in the adult community. So I think, but as they're getting older and they're entering their teen years, then it's, hey, if you've never met this person you're talking with in real life,
Yeah.
then you really have no idea who this person is.
Yeah.
And limit the amount of information you would share with this person.
Yeah.
If someone is beginning to have a conversation with you of a sexual nature, let mom and dad know right away,
Yes.
right? That's also what we know too, is the grooming behavior online it'll start off, very friendly, and the predator is building this kind of relational trust, and then they'll turn it into a sexual conversation.
Yes.
And that is the beginning of a grooming. So there's some basic things that we need to be teaching our children as they are getting online more and more and interacting with people.
We're going to take a little bit of a music break. When we come back, my conversation with Derek Thompson at the Gateway to Freedom Foundation continues on child trafficking. And we're going to get into what are the signs that you can look for to help you identify when you might be witnessing a trafficking situation and what you can do about it. Enjoy the break. We'll be back. Welcome back. This is David with the Wow Show. We're talking with Derek Thompson from the Gateway to Freedom Foundation. Our subject is child trafficking, something that shouldn't be happening, but is all too common and a growing industry in North America. Let's continue on with our conversation as he gives us tips of recognizing when we see a trafficking situation and what we can do about it to help combat this travesty on our continent. Are there some tools out there that can help? Like I know, for example, people with pornography addictions, there's tools you can put on your computer to restrict access and not make it easy to go there. And while, we want to trust our kids, I assume that there's tools to help us kind of keep them in a safe environment and kind of help us safeguard. Because, truthfully, when they enter their teenagehood, it's a difficult time, and the lines of communications between parents and kids. I've got a 14-year-old, and I'm really lucky. She is not like way out there, but I do not recognize in the morning, first thing in the morning, I do not recognize the creature that walks up the steps.
That's the same thing, David. My
and,
14-year-old.
and by the time the afternoon rolls around, I have my daughter back, who I love and I cherish. But in the morning, she would not be open to those conversations. And then, some of my friends, that's longer than just the morning. So are there tools out there that might be resources for parents?
There are definitely tools out there. The one that comes to mind is Covenant Eyes, which really deals with the pornography issue, but I think could be used to flag other things. But this is an area, especially with social media, this is an area that we really need to develop better tools, I would say. I think we're lacking in what is available. Now, people will tell me there's always a new something that's coming up.
Yeah.
And people say, have you heard of this? And so again, I know that there are some tools out there for social media, but but there's definitely a need to grow more.
Okay.
I would say too, one other just quick advice for parents is that we definitely need to let our children know that social media is not a right, it's a privilege.
Yes.
And again, that we are happy to have our children use some of these things because it is fun and it's a great way to connect, but we have to be the ones that bring a measure of safety to that experience for them, because they are open to the world, and anybody can start a conversation with your child through social media.
Definitely. And so as you're talking about that, I just think of our inputs usually stem our outputs in life. And as we can control the inputs, not only in our children's lives, but in our own lives, and our outputs tend to change. It's the best way to kind of manifest change where we want change in others people's lives and also in our own. And social media has so much great potential. Like,
Yes.
I see my daughters just studying with their friends online, and I have no objection to that. They're on Skype, and yeah, they're laughing a little bit, but they're also helping each other with homework, and there are so many good parts to it. So that balance, I think, is awesome. So we chatted a little bit about, helping trucking families understand the nature of the problem and that we're all vulnerable, no matter what our economic class is, no matter how much we love our kids. They're kids. I love what you said. I'm vulnerable because of my age.
Yes.
But I also see, because I've been serving this field for 15 years at Shell and now 15 years with the calendar. So it's like 30 years. I started when I was 2. And it's, but I also see, this incredible, I mean, truckers are everywhere
Mhm.
and they're awesome people and they have a heart for this. This heart is growing.
Yep.
And so it's almost like a wave,
Yeah.
that's coming against it. You could not get better coverage of eyes of what's going on in any country than you will with the trucking community and the transport community.
Mhm.
They
Yep.
can be carriers of hope,
Mhm.
carriers of protection,
Yep.
carriers of, uh, and so, what do you see? What's your hope for the trucking community around, child trafficking?
Man, I just got started with Gateway to Freedom in February of this month. So just a month and a half in, and my appreciation for truck drivers has grown tremendously.
Yeah.
And oh man, it gets me excited. I'm so excited. So yes, drivers are, they do they provide such a valuable resource to us because they transport our goods and services. But we know that they transport way more than just goods and services. They also transport their cultural values,
Yeah.
right? As human beings, and they really are the hands and feet in our country right now that can have the greatest impact in fighting human trafficking.
Yeah. I concur. As I've met the transport community, you know what? I've never trucked, and I'm honest with that with my audience. And I couldn't be that. It's not an easy life.
No.
And my friends that catch up with me and haven't seen me for a while and ask me what I'm doing, and I tell them, aside from the leadership training I'm doing, I do a trucking calendar, and now I've got this. They go, what? But bringing their values. So here's a large part of the trucking community is just values of family. I mean, trucking gets community and the power of community to save. And I've said it in previous shows, and I'm going to say it in this one. The best answer to all of our societal problems, including child trafficking, is not government; it's community.
That's right. Mhm.
And
Amen.
and these people get it,
Yep. Yep.
and that's why I love them.
Amen, David.
They
That's right.
wear it on their sleeves.
Yes. Yep.
And so it's powerful. So yeah,
And they go places that most people will never go. I can't be in 5 different states,
yeah,
but drivers are.
yeah,
And also in places that are dark places where human trafficking can thrive.
yeah,
Human trafficking thrives in the more obscure, darker places in the world, and traffickers have a presence. Or I'm sorry, truckers have a presence there,
yeah,
and so they're able to go and be in places that most people can't.
yeah,
And when they are equipped, and we know, so, and that's the great thing, the values are already there.
yeah.
Uh, the values are already there. So now it's just a little bit of equipping and education and some motivation to help them see, oh man, I can make a tremendous difference when it comes to this issue.
Yes. No, I like it. Before we go into equipping, because that's what I want to do. I really want to give them, and I'm going to take, like I said, the portion of this interview, I'm going to just make it a standalone as well. I want to talk about what are the top 3, or you'll know the number, but what are the top X amount of things that truckers can look for to
Yep.
identify a potential trafficking situation, because they are everywhere. And then because there is risk involved, what are the sensible things they can do
Yep.
to be heroes on the road? But I just, when you were talking about that, I agree. The values are there, but there's 2 opportunities. There's opportunities for the majority of truckers to just, act out their values and gain purpose and meaning to their life and just extra fulfillment in their life by being able to, to be heroes in this arena. But there is a percentage in trucking, as there is in many, but in trucking especially, that love life on the road because they're running from something. and this is not, we all do this in our lives. We run away from our issues, and transport lets you do that in a very practical way, because you hop in a truck and you go for a 5,000-mile drive.
And you don't have to deal with anything.
Do you know what?
You have to deal with your issues. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm excited about is that, as we give people the tools and equip them, that for those people that are running away, there is no better place to find out who you are than by serving others.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
And so this not only saves a kid, but saves a driver.
Yep.
And restores something in their life.
Yep.
Then it's going to be awesome.
Yep.
So let's equip. Let's give them the succinct list of what are the things as a driver you're out and about, like that day in Miami at that pool. It just hit my gut. It's like, that's not his dad. And the man behind him is not his uncle.
Yep. Here's the best thing you can do, David. So one, your experience is what I think the majority of people will have that experience. It's a gut feeling. And I've heard this from so many different people that said, I saw this thing and it didn't feel right, but I didn't know what to do. And here's what to do. One, it is not, I've been through a lot of different trainings, and they always say, don't get yourself involved. That is dangerous and really can be very just not helpful. But what you can do is, one, you definitely want to make mental notes. You get a description of everything you saw and as detailed as you possibly can. If you can write it down, that's great. But if not, be as detailed as you can, and then call the national hotline. The human trafficking hotline is our greatest first resource to make a difference. And that number is 888-3737-888. So what we encourage people, when you have that gut feeling, it doesn't seem right, get details of what you saw and call the national hotline, because they compile all of this, and then they can work with law enforcement, with victim services, with all of that. And what's amazing, if you don't call, there could have been someone who called and had a similar description. And if you don't call, they can't make the connection.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's why calling is really important, and giving a description. That would be by far the top thing to do.
I like it. So that's a great thing. And there are a lot of truckers out there that, and bless their heart and bless their intent, that would just want to do something. Like grab the guy, put him against the wall.
Yes.
And
it's amazing what happens when we get that adrenaline going.
Yeah, street justice.
Yeah, and you go. Here's a great example, though, and this is actually in the Uber. This came out a few years ago, made a big deal. It was an Uber driver who he was transporting 3 people. And so here's also gives you a sign of what to look for. In this particular instance, there was 2 adult women with a younger girl in between. They're sitting in the back seat, and she looked to be a teenager. And the Uber driver just knew something with the body language of the teenager made him feel uncomfortable. Yeah. It gave him that weird gut feeling, like, this doesn't seem like legit. And so he dropped them off at a hotel, right? And when he dropped them off at the hotel, he said, I don't feel good about this. So he called the national hotline. They were able to respond quickly, and law enforcement actually, in this case, did show up, and it was a trafficking situation. That teenager was being trafficked in the hotel room. So that's how it started. It started with the Uber driver who but it also starts with that Uber driver knew the signs to look for, had been through a training, and now here it is. They're in the back seat. He doesn't feel comfortable. He calls the hotline, and this particular teenager was able to be rescued.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's awesome. And that answered my question, because, when you mentioned calling the hotline, I put myself in the driver's perspective, or even in my perspective that day. It's like, well, is this just kind of hoping to catch them at some point later on? And the little boy that I just saw is an unfortunate victim in the meanwhile. But the hotline may trigger immediate response.
It can trigger immediate response if it, depending on what the circumstances are, yes.
Okay.
And And even if I would encourage people, even if it doesn't trigger an immediate response, that again, giving the description and the detail is a part of the solution to uncovering all of this.
Yeah.
So, you can also call 911 again if it looks like this person is being, if they're, a crime is actually happening in front of them, or there's a high risk situation, then first call 911 and have them show up to the scene, and then call the human trafficking hotline after that to give the details of what you saw.
We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to finish our conversation with Derek Thompson, TFC Global, Gateway to Freedom Foundation. See you after the break. Welcome back. Let's continue our conversation with Derek Thompson, Gateway to Freedom. Okay, I like that. So in terms of signs, I mean, the gut field is triggered by body language that just doesn't seem right. Any other telltale signs? I mean, there's many ways that kids communicate human body language, words, and the tone of our voice are all ways that we can kind of measure where someone's at. Do you want to speak to some of those other things?
Yeah, so absolutely. One now, two, being solicited online is a sign. And for a lot of men, especially drivers, drivers need to know that they are a specific target audience for pimps and traffickers.
Yeah.
All right, so that's helpful to know, for a driver to know that pimps and traffickers are going to be soliciting me, because I have traditionally been a big part of their buyer demand. It's how they make their money.
Yeah.
So any solicitation is a red flag that someone is being trafficked.
Yeah.
And again, you don't have to respond to that ad. You don't have to do anything, but you can notify. That would be, hey, I've got so-and-so, she goes by this name. She said she's this old. She contacted me through this social media site, whatever that is. Giving that information is really helpful and is a red flag.
Okay.
But in the past, we just, it's amazing how it's just a little switch in the brain, a little light switch that can go on. Someone solicits somebody and we immediately think, oh, she must just be desperate for money, or or she wants to do this or whatever.
Yeah.
Now the switch should go on. You're being solicited. The switch should go on. Oh my gosh, this person, there's a high likelihood this is a trafficking victim, some emotional manipulation, whatever. I need to share this information with the hotline.
What I love about what you're sharing, it points to a reality, and that I probably need to address. And that, I can't think of many North Americans that wouldn't have in some way, very innocently, fed into the demand for child trafficking, because so much of it, whether it be strip clubs or pornography, is cultural norm.
Yes.
Almost today. And today's show is not meant to cast a guilt trip, but it is meant to raise awareness. Yeah. And just open the eyes to a different perspective on things that we do and the impacts that it has. And if it does that, that's awesome, because you know what? I don't know, in today's world, if you'd find 2% of guys that haven't done something that indirectly feeds into these people making huge amounts of money off of innocent and vulnerable children and people. Let's talk to fleet managers. So if they want to train their drivers, and obviously, their number one job is, load procurement and getting shipments from one place to the other. That is their priority. This is not their number one job, and there are some risks involved. But, hopefully if they're listening and they have a heart for this, then what are the resources that are available for them to make available to their drivers, and maybe make it part of upcoming driver meetings to empower them and just equip them?
That's the exciting thing. Yes. TFC Global One does provide that training, and we've seen so many more truck companies and owners that have shown a authentic desire to train their drivers, educate their drivers. So that need is very present within the trucking industry, and TFC Global does provide training as far as the signs to look for. There's other organizations that do that as well.
Yeah.
And there's also material that you can get in your, for truck stop owners, there's anti-trafficking signs that Polaris Project puts out.
Nice.
And that's really important to have. Especially it helps, there's some that really help victims, at truck stops, again, there's a lot of victims, and to give also the hotline,
Yes.
the place that a victim can call
Yeah.
and self-report.
Yep.
So making that available is really important.
I like that thought. In our pre-chat, I told you my experience in the industry is that, there are stickers that mean a lot of things in trucking. And when I was naive, I used to go, oh, that's a nice frog sticker on your truck. Why do you have a frog on your truck? And then they would joke around that was an invitation, that they're open to having their door knocked on at 2 a.m. in the morning. And I forget if it was a frog or what it was, but to be able to expand on not only signs, but maybe stickers that in a way become a symbol to say, if you're in a bad space, I'm a safe person to connect with, I think would be a cool thing. And so I'm going to challenge any company out there that wants to help in this regard, maybe create a bumper sticker or some sort of stickers for trucks and start a wave to either contact myself at wowtrucks.com or to get in touch with Derek. Derek, I will put TFC Global's information on the website and all that contact information. So if you go to wowtrucks.com after this show, there will be a replay of this for others that have maybe missed it and you think would be, as a listener, you think would be valuable for them to hear. And you can connect with us, and I'd love to see that. That would be my heart, is to do more than just talk about it, but use the norms of trucking to communicate in a positive way, that this is a safe place to get help from. And, as I say it, I realize it probably can be abused as well. But the more kids that we save, it's a good thing, right?
Yeah, everything can be used as an abuse, but I love what you just shared real quick, David, as we're wrapping up here, I feel.
Yeah.
Is that I love that you said we can use the norms, for good. And that is so true. We can, I think about the use of power, and men, we pride ourselves on our power and our strength, and that can be used to protect and defend, right? And when we use it the right way to protect and defend, it brings value to our life.
Yeah.
But what happens in trafficking is oftentimes our power and strength is used to exploit and to use. And that not only does it harm the other person, but it also harms us, because that is not a healthy or good use of our strong and power. So the same thing with the trucking industry. It has norms, it has strengths that it can use for positive things that will bless the truck community, or it can use those for things that bring harm to it. So
I think those are almost great words to close on, and I will just add this thought as you were saying them. There's a difference between feelings and outcomes, and it's important to differentiate them. And there are many things that I can fall prey to in my life that feel good in the moment. But the test is, what are the outcomes 1 day later, 2 day later, 3 day later? What's coming out of that? And so that's the important thing for me to measure. But you're right, the values are there, the norms are there. This is an amazing community. And so I want to thank you for being part of the program today. It's just an uber important topic. Again, listeners, if you want to connect with Derek, his information will be on the website, wowtrucks.com, where you can see the show. Derek, remind people of the hotline 188 number again.
Yeah. Yep. The human trafficking hotline, national hotline, is 888-3737, 888.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you for what you do. Keep on doing it. We're going to keep an eye and connect again. Wouldn't be surprised if we chat on the show once more at a future date and talk about that demand side. But I appreciate it. You have yourself a great day, Derek.
Yeah, David, thank you so much for what you're doing. And yeah, let's do it again.
Sounds good. My thanks to Derek Thompson and his shedding light and knowledge on the topic of child trafficking in that interview. Links to his website and those of other organizations that help combat child trafficking will be on the wowtrucks.com webpage underneath the replay of this show, which will air usually 24 hours to 48 hours after the airing of the actual show on Lead Pedal Radio. So I invite you to go there and take a look and inform yourself, arm yourself to potentially be in a position to make a difference in someone's lives. That's what today's show has been all about. We started with Mike Murchison, a cowboy owner-operator that has the gift of music and is making a difference in the lives of the people around him by the music that he creates and sings. And then, we talked about a man making a difference with his company by sharing information on how you can better prevent downtime in your trucks. And then we went to a company and a lady in Lesco Distributors and Tina Clark and that whole crew who are excited that in doing what they do, they can make a difference in their community. And then we ended off with Derek Thompson, the interview you just heard, helping to empower you to make a difference combating this thing that I hope we can all agree we should want to eradicate from our continent, and that is child trafficking. Making a difference, it can be from where you're at with what you have. Final story before I say goodbye for another week. And that story comes from a trip that I took to Lloydminster, Alberta, Saskatchewan. It's a town that borders both provinces, unique in many ways for that type of town in Canada. I was speaking there, and across the street from the hotel that I stayed at, because my hotel did not serve breakfast, was McDonald's, the Golden Arches. And so for 2 mornings, I would go for breakfast, and the experience was the same. When I would walk in, I was greeted by these 2 elderly ladies. I placed them in their 70s. They might have been mid-60s at the youngest, but they were elderly ladies working at this McDonald's in the cashier role, and they were friendly and they took my order and they made me laugh and made me feel welcome. But each morning as I sat down and I grabbed my food and started eating and enjoying breakfast, I would watch others come in. And it was the strangest scene, but the coolest scene. They would walk in and these guys, they were construction workers or local workers, whatever they were. They had their lunch buckets and they were about to spend a day working hard. They would walk in and person by person, one of those 2 ladies would call them out by their nickname. It's like, good morning, sunshine. Good morning, basket case. Good morning, whatever their name was, and the nickname that they had been assigned. And there was like 15, 20 of these guys that would walk in. They all had a nickname and they would walk in and they would know who they were. Kind of like that show Cheers. You go a place where people know your name or your nickname anyways. But what was totally amazing is nobody ordered. And it doesn't mean that they didn't get food and they didn't get drinks, but nobody placed an order. Sunshine and all of the characters around him would walk up and simply tap their debit card and out came breakfast because these ladies knew what they wanted. Can you imagine spending your day? I mean, a cashier job at McDonald's, with all due consideration, doesn't sound all that glamorous. But to me, these ladies, because they made a difference in the lives of their customers, created a slice of heaven. Can you imagine a day where you just got to be with people that you knew and you knew that you were serving them well, and there was this air of appreciation flooding both ways across the counter, and you could feel good coming and you could feel good going? That's what making a difference does. And so as we close out for another week, I'm gonna just challenge you. Making a difference comes from where you're at with what you have. It doesn't require anything to change except for us to see and make a choice to make a difference in the lives of others around us where we can. And as we give, as in most things in life, we get way more in return in terms of rewards than we ever could have imagined. So thank you for who you are. Thank you for what you do. You do make a difference. Have yourself a great week. We'll see you next week. God bless.